What will humanity's reset look or feel like?
Most of it will be based on the fact that we're going to actually have disclosure and open contact very soon. Will eventually allow humanity to become part of the galactic family.
So open contact is still on track for 2027?
As far as I know.
JD Vance.
Saying something like that is sort of basically racist, just because these beings were born on another planet that they're demons. Kind of like dismissing them as a race of beings. There are already extraterrestrial hybrids living and working among us that look enough like us that we can't really tell the difference. These are not humans born on Earth who have extraterrestrial connections. I'm talking about actual extraterrestrials that have been created with also partly human genetics.
Are things like the Epstein files part of a bigger shift right now in consciousness?
Yes. When Bashar called this the year of disclosure, he didn't just mean UFO information. He meant that a lot of things that have been hidden for a long time, a lot of secrets are being revealed. This is the whole thing about getting everything up out of our system, getting everything onto the table, finally seeing all of the things that have been going on behind the scenes that are not necessarily representative of what's best for us.
Welcome everybody to the Heart Coherence Collaborative. Today is an amazing day because we have our good friend Darryl Anka back with us. And it's extra special because all the questions today came from Bashar's Facebook community and my community, basically asking the Bashar Facebook community to come up with questions for Darryl. We received about 200 questions, like really fast, so I had to shut it down. But then I created a poll out of those 200 questions and everybody voted on them. So these are the top questions of your community and mine. So whoever participated in that, thank you so much. We're going to kick it off with the first question. How do we raise our vibration when drained or exhausted?
Well, probably the first thing to do is to find some time to relax.
Right.
Take a break. Yeah, you remember the first sign, the first clue that you're not doing things in the way that actually works for you is to be overwhelmed and to be exhausted. So you need to take a break and you need to take some time to look and use your imagination for how what you're doing, if what you're doing is representative of your passion, how you can do it in a way that actually works for you. Because everyone is unique and everyone doesn't have to do it the way other people do it or say that it has to be done. You have to have the wherewithal to really open up, use your imagination, and figure out how to do it in a way that works for you. Now, of course, if you're not doing something that, if you're doing something that's not representative of your passion, that is probably over time going to stress you out. It's going to tire you out. So you have to look at also what you're doing. If it's something that is not really working for you, over time, like I said, that's going to tire you out. It's going to exhaust you. Now, I understand that many people, may not believe that their passion can support them. And that's something else that people may need to get a handle on, because you don't want to let go of what you believe you need for support if that's what you believe you need. But at the same time, you have to give your passion a chance to show you that it can support you by at least acting on it as often as you possibly can. And when you start doing that and make that more of a habit, it will eventually demonstrate to you, if you're, really fully doing it, that it is something that will in some way, shape, or form support you. So again, bottom line, it's really about understanding that if you're exhausted and overwhelmed, you're doing things in a way that doesn't work for you.
So follow the formula, right?
Well, that too, obviously.
Of course.
But again, you've really got to make sure that you are performing in a particular style that works for you. And if you can't find that way, sometimes you may have to invent that way.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
That makes sense. What does ADHD represent spiritually?
Well, it can represent many different things. I mean, it can represent high focus. It can also represent avoidance. So it depends on a case-by-case basis. I'd have to know what that particular person is experiencing in context to their life. So there's no one general thing that I could say it represents, because anything can serve double duty. It could be for a positive or a negative reason.
Right. One thing I just want to mention before we go on, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, but a couple of years ago you had that prediction and you got a lot of flack for it. You know, if Trump wins this, if Kamala wins this, I just want to say like you took a stance on something and a lot of people like really were hard on you and critical and it came true, you know?
I know.
And so it's like it just makes me appreciate you so much more that you're willing to put that out there and
Well, I mean, that, it wasn't even me, it was Bashar.
yeah, right.
You know, he's just sensing where our energy was going and he's just
Yeah.
telling, now again, he doesn't do that often,
Mm,
but nevertheless, yeah, we're obviously heading in a direction that most people don't think is very positive. So,
yeah. Yeah, you called it. Um, what will humanity's reset look or feel like?
well, it's a big subject. Um, you know, it's all going to be based on the fact that, well, at least most of it will be based on the fact that we're going to actually have disclosure and open contact very soon, which will offer humanity new choices they've never had before. So, over the next couple of decades, I would think that the idea is that most institutions on the planet will be very different. Our economy will be very different, probably digitally based, not crypto, but digitally based. We will start to change the way we view politics, social interactions, so on and so forth, until we get to a point where, we really do have a possibility of humanity moving forward after that in a peaceful way and a constructive way, and have opportunities opened for us that will eventually allow humanity to become part of the galactic family. So I would think we'd find ET information helpful with regard to things like planetary management,
Mm,
how we can really understand how to connect to resources, distribute resources in a way that allows every human to thrive, things like that. They have a lot they can teach us about managing an entire planet. So I think it's going to open up a lot of avenues that will be very creative and very positive for us in the future. And I think that'll occur over the next couple of decades as we get used to the idea that we are interacting with extraterrestrial intelligence and we're not alone.
has Bashar given any insight on the war at all?
He usually stays away from that because, again, it's just too politically charged.
Yeah.
The thing that you mentioned before is a very rare comment on his part. And normally he just won't go there because there's just too much going on and too many ways to interpret it. So ultimately, obviously, it will stop. Uh, Ultimately, hopefully, we will learn lessons from it so that we will not repeat these kinds of things again in the future.
Mm,
And again, just to put it sort of in this kind of framework, I think one of the big lessons we're going to learn when we do have open contact with extraterrestrials in the near future is that it's going to be kind of like, the adults are stepping in the room and saying, that's enough fooling around. You
mm,
need to really start taking life seriously and start really serving each other and really connecting to your soul, your spirit, to source, to understand what life can be like. So I think we need to really let go of our fear-based beliefs.
mm.
We really need to start communicating with each other and looking at each other like we are a family and, stop reacting out of fear.
Yeah. So open contact is still on track for 2027.
Far as I know.
Yeah, it's great. And so will the extraterrestrials, when that happen, kind of like lead us more towards unity
Yeah.
society?
Yeah, it's not going to happen all at once. Again, let me stress, they're offering us an option that we've never had before to move in that direction. They're not going to force anyone to do it. There will probably be a whole spectrum of reactions from, positive all the way down into negative. But I think over the course of the next couple of decades, up to about 2050, humanity will finally understand the value and the benefits of aligning with what they have to offer us. And from that point forward, humanity will be on a new track. But it will take a couple of decades for us to adjust because that's going to be a big shock to the system to suddenly realize that there are societies out there that are now interacting with us that are thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not millions of years ahead of us. They've already learned all these lessons and they have a lot that they can teach us. So it's up to us to decide whether we want to learn them or not. I think that a lot of humanity will eventually do so.
Now, at 2050, will that be more like the time where people describe as the new Earth?
Yeah, I think so. I think Bashar is recently called the decade between 2050 and 2060. He's titled it the Decade of Dreams.
Hmm.
So I think he's really saying that at that point, humanity's evolution and acceleration will almost be like you're living a dream. Like there'll be so many possibilities, so many new avenues that humanity can take that we haven't even imagined yet. So I think it will really allow us to open up in new directions that we know nothing about at this particular moment, but will be presented to us again as options in the next couple of years.
Great. That sounds exciting. Uh,
Yeah.
so, has Bashar ever interacted with other channeled beings?
Well, yes. I mean, there have been times, rare, but times when I've channeled on stage with another channel. And when that happens, it's like, it's very odd because they take turns but without any visible cues. They just like Bashar will talk and then he'll stop and the other entity will start talking. But I can sense up on a different level that they're communicating with each other and coordinating what they're saying. So, yes, there have been times when it's been demonstrated that he's communicated with other entities that are being channeled by humans on Earth. And it's very interesting to experience the coordination between them that takes place when those kinds of dialogues are presented to us.
Do you remember any of the entities that he did it with, or?
Well, yes. I mean, there are a couple. There's one that was channeled by a woman named Sean Randall. The entity is called Torah.
Hmm.
And there have been a couple of others, and right now I'm forgetting the entities' names, but
Cool.
yeah.
And does it feel different, that channeling experience when
Oh,
the,
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Because again, I can feel the energy shift. In other words, it's almost like when it's Bashar's turn, I feel it's almost like the wind fills your sails. And then when it's time for the other entity, you just feel like the wind go out of your sails and you're on hold for a minute, like he's put you on hold. So, but but then the audience experiences the subject being discussed going back and forth between the different
Yeah.
entities. So yeah, plus also you have to realize when Bashar is talking to us, he's telepathically connected to hundreds, if not thousands, of other entities downloading information. He's just facilitating information. All the information isn't even necessarily coming from him. It could be coming from your spirit guides, my spirit guides, angels, other ETs. He's connected to an entire network. He's just the facilitator. So you never know exactly when he answers a question who's actually giving him that information to give to the person that's asking the question.
That makes sense. Are there any hard parts to channeling Bashar?
Well, in the beginning, for the first couple of years, it took a while for me to get used to larger energy
Mm.
that he represents. He operates on a very high frequency. I kind of often describe the sensation in the beginning as trying to fit Hoover Dam through a garden hose. There's like a feeling of pressure. And it's like you feel like my body can't contain this.
Mm.
So you have to get used to that idea. You have to raise your own vibration to start matching it. You have to really trust it and get your own stuff out of the way. And when you start doing that, and when I did start doing that after a couple of years, then the energy actually stays with you. It lifts you up, it buoys you up, it leaves you with more energy, and it balances you out. But yeah, I mean, for the first couple of years, getting used to the energy would sometimes feel like I was coming down with a flu. I would get pains in the back of my neck, which is the channeling chakra, and things like that. But of course, as soon as I started the channeling, it it went away. So I knew that I wasn't really getting sick. It was just the effect of the energy trying to open up the conduits in my body, the nerves in my body to handle the energy. But it took some getting used to. But other than that, no. I mean, and now in this more modern age, when people are aware of channeling and they're used to the idea that channeling exists, it can actually be easier for them. And channeling in the more modern generations is not as disconnected. In other words, a lot of more modern channels remain more consciously themselves while they're downloading information and sharing it with you, which is the whole point. Each generation of channels has become more and more aware during the channeling. Now, again, I'm aware, but I'm lost kind of in a daydream about it. Whereas when I teach classes myself, since I've been channeling Bashar for now almost 42 years, I'm used to that energy. And when I'm actually teaching as myself, I can feel myself getting into a channeling state, but only as myself. So I now can let myself flow, not without having to connect specifically to Bashar. So I can do both at this point because I know what that energy feels like now. I can easily get into it.
I saw on Gaia like a commercial where they had your brain hooked up while you were channeling. What did they find through that study?
Several interesting things. One thing that was really interesting is, and this is going to require a little tiny bit of a technical explanation. So forgive me here for a second, bear with me. When you grow up, your brain starts reaching what is called a set point. And that set point is representative of how your brain processes information. And you reach a certain frequency, and theoretically, it stays there for the rest of your life, unless, you have a head trauma or something, some damage. My set point is 9 cycles per second. That's the rate at which I am normally, like right now, absorbing and processing the information that comes to me from reality. That set point is not supposed to change over the course of your lifetime, like I said, unless you have some sort of an injury. But when I go into the channeling state, the set point goes up immediately in seconds. Not only does it go up, it goes up when Bashar is talking, but it goes up even higher when he's listening, which means he is listening on many different levels, processing the information that he's getting from people, synthesizing it in a way where he really understands why they're asking that question deeply and how to respond to them in a more effective way. Another thing that we discovered with the EEG compared to my normal baseline is that there are certain centers in the brain that represent the processing of your personality, but during the channeling, those centers shut down.
Hmm.
So if the centers in my brain that are responsible for processing my personality shut off, who's talking?
Yeah.
Because my personality is not coming through. So there are a lot of other things too that we discovered in that process. So it basically what we were demonstrating in a more scientific way is that channeling is actually truly an altered state, and that everyone gets into that altered state called gamma in the brain between 40 and 100 cycles per second of brainwave activity when they're in the zone, when they're doing what they love to do, when suddenly you are focused in such a way that you don't even pay attention to the passage of time. You think it's been 15 minutes and you look up and it's been an hour. That's a channeling state. So everyone gets into that. And that's one of the things we did in the documentary where we wanted to demystify the whole concept of channeling and take it out of the woo-woo area and really show that this is simply a natural altered state that over the course of anyone's lifetime, you probably get into over and over again when you're focused and in the zone. It just depends then on what you do with it.
That makes sense. What are your thoughts on J.D. Vance saying that spirits are demons?
Well, that's been sort of, I'm not going to single him out because that's been sort of said by a lot of let's just say, very right-wing, religiously based people. And, they're going off of their belief system that, there are such things as demons. But from my perspective, saying something like that is sort of basically racist because you're just basically saying that just because these beings were born on another planet, that they're demons.
Mm.
And to me, that's kind of like dismissing them as a race of beings. So I sort of look at those kinds of comments as, kind of ignorant and racist. They don't understand what they're dealing with, and they're letting their fear-based religious beliefs take over in terms of their relationship to, what they're experiencing with things like UFOs and stuff like that. So I think it's just sort of a primitive, ignorant reaction.
Yeah. Any fear there that it will influence, like, say he becomes president and he's like fearing these things. Do you think that could change the outcome of open contact? No,
No.
there's nothing we can do about it. It's happening.
No, it's inevitable at this point. And yeah, a lot of people maybe like him will have maybe fear-based reactions when it happens. But, again, it's not like the aliens are going to force anything. They're just going to say, look, we're here. You now know we're here. We're offering you other options than that you haven't had for a long time. So take it or leave it. But
Cool.
we're here.
Nice. Nice. Is Bashar ever wrong?
Well, I'm not sure exactly how to evaluate that in terms of what you mean by wrong, because he says what he feels he needs to say to that person to get them to do what they need to do that will benefit them.
Hmm.
So it's not that the information is always literal.
Yeah.
Sometimes the information is what will spark them to do what they need to do. So it's just kind of the way it works. In terms of the predictions, the rare times he's been willing to make predictions, no, he hasn't been wrong. Because he only makes those predictions when he senses that the energy and the momentum behind them is so strong that it's unlikely to change. So that's why he rarely does it, because, according to him, there's no such thing as a prediction of the future. There's many probable outcomes. A prediction is a sensing of the energy that exists at the moment the prediction is made. So a prediction is saying, look, this is where I'm sensing the energy is. If it doesn't change, this is what's going to happen. But now you know about the prediction. Now you know where the energy is. So you could change it. You could render the prediction obsolete because there may be enough flexibility that you can take another course. So the only time he's ever made predictions and they've come true is when he said, look, there's just so much energy behind this, it doesn't seem likely that it's ever going to change. So I'll tell you what I'm sensing. And then it happens because of what he said. There's just too much momentum behind it in human society. Like it's recorded in 1998, I believe it was. He said that by the end of 2001, there would be a terrorist attack in New York. Obviously, that happened. So, and he also said that, in 2016, everything would change politically. Obviously, that happened. So these are things that are on the collective life path of humanity. And when they're on the collective life path and we've made an agreement to experience these things to learn lessons, he can pick up on that and he can tell us where we're at with that. But he does it very rarely because really it's up to us to learn our lessons. They don't interfere with the lessons that we need to learn, but they'll give us some guidance.
Nice. Are there any predictions that have come through Bashar in the last few months or any other topics that he's really hot on right now?
Well, of course, the major one, the most recent one, is the idea of open contact in and around 2027. That's really the most recent one he's been willing to make.
That's a big one.
It is, and we're seeing everything moving in that direction with all of the congressional hearings on UFOs and whistleblowers talking about it and coming out and stuff like that, and more UFO sightings happening here and there. So, it is heading toward disclosure. We are definitely seeing that momentum. And so right now it seems relatively inevitable.
Cool. Do beings from Bashar's civilizations have relationships like humans?
Sort of, but they don't impose any particular assumption on those relationships about what form or structure they're supposed to take
Mm.
sociologically. They don't, they don't have the institutions we have, like, a typical marriage. Basically, they just let the relationship be what it is. They learn what it is as it unfolds. If someone is supposed to be together with one particular person for the rest of their life, they don't assume that until the end of the life. And they look back and say, okay, well, that was supposed to be for the rest of my life. So they never, because of the strength of the attraction or anything, they never assume what that means in terms of the form the relationship should take, because they understand that the purpose of all relationships is for everyone in the relationship to serve each other to become more of who they are. So, I mean, that can happen in many different kinds of ways and many different kinds and forms of relationship. So they just let the relationships unfold naturally and see where they go.
How do ETs determine who they're going to connect with?
Well, again, like we do, we put these connections on our life path when we're a soul before the incarnation. So there is reasons and purpose for everyone that we interact with that's important in our lives. And generally speaking, the most important people you interact with in your life are part of your soul group, your soul family. So you make arrangements prior to the incarnation that you're going to interact in certain ways to learn certain lessons. So in that sense, a soulmate can be a spouse, a soulmate can be a best friend, a soulmate can be a boss, a soulmate can even be an enemy. Because
Mm.
again, it's about learning lessons. It's about creating a structure or unfolding a play that allows the characters to express certain concepts, ideas, and learn
Mm.
certain lessons for their soul's growth. So we all take turns playing different parts for each other, in that way.
What will open contact and disclosure actually look like?
Hard to say. There are a few things that seem relatively evident and being set up as far as I know. Number one, there are already extraterrestrial hybrids living and working among us that look enough like us that we can't really tell the difference. These are not humans born on Earth who have extraterrestrial connections. I'm talking about actual extraterrestrials that have been created with also partly human genetics
Mm.
that were born somewhere else and have been deposited here to help us behind the scenes. When open contact happens, they will be the first group that will be revealed to us because they have already been living and working among us. So, in some senses, that would be the least scenario, the least likely scenario to freak everyone out. Once that happens and we get used to that, then the pure extraterrestrials, beings like Pleiadians, Arcturans, what have you, again, the ones that at least look somewhat similar to us, will be introduced to us probably through literally some kind of an official State of the Union address, press conference around the world, something along that line. And then it'll be explained to us, what's going on and all that stuff, and we'll have time to get used to that. Some of it may also start with more ships showing up and, in a sense, posing for us so that we can actually have clear photographs and videos of these ships that would appear on the evening news. Again, maybe for a little while, so we get used to the idea that they're here and it's undeniable. It's going to be, let's say, rolled out in phases that will work to help us acclimate to it over time. So a small bit of time, but over time. So I think it's going to be something along that line, some official statements, some, revelations about who's who and what's what, and give us time to absorb that and say, okay, and now we can go to the next step and the next step and the next step. And over time, we'll be introduced to more and more extraterrestrials that are nothing like us. Again, getting used to the ones that we're more familiar with, or the ones that are more like us, will ease us into being able to be introduced to ones that are not so much like us. So that again, we don't panic or freak out just because they look so different.
Could you explain that a little bit more, like the hybrid program? How are they doing that, where they're, getting human DNA or human whatever to create a hybrid?
Well, that's been going on for a long, long time. It's usually under the title of what people refer to as alien abduction. Now, these things are arranged by the souls prior to the physical incarnation, so it's not actually happening without these people's permission, even though physically they may not remember that they've given permission or agreed to participate in this evolutionary process of humanity upgrading and changing. So it's the DNA that was taken during those abduction experiences, mixed with other DNA from extraterrestrial sources and hybrid beings being created by that, and then educated and off doing other things, as well as a lot of them being returned to Earth to live and work among us to help upgrade and evolve human society. So that's sort of in a nutshell what we're talking about. Now, Bashar's entire civilization is the result of that hybridization process. That's why he is, in a sense, genetically related to us. They are part of our family. They look at us almost as if we are ancestors and they are our descendants.
Hmm.
It's just that they've been created in what we would consider to be an unusual way. So, because they consider us family, they're here to help, they're here to guide us, they're here to see that, give us opportunities to not make a lot of the mistakes that other civilizations have made and stuff like that. So it's up to us to take the advice, but they're here to share that advice because they're thousands of years ahead of us at this point. They know what we're doing and what it can lead to, and they're offering us, other options.
Do we know where that lab is, where this is happening, and is there a certain species that's, I guess, managing it?
Yes and no. There's probably more than one place,
Mhm.
but I'm sure it's not just a lab. A
Yeah.
lot of this takes place on spaceships. It's mostly connected to the beings we call the Greys, the, sort of typical small, diminutive, big head, big eyes, dark eyes, beings. It's being overseen apparently by beings that are what we refer to as the mantis beings, beings that sort of look insect-like a praying mantis. Again, the story behind it, generally, as Bashar has explained it, is the Greys used to be human, and they came from, in a sense, a parallel reality version of Earth, but they destroyed their version of Earth. They lost control of it, and it was very toxic. They mutated. They lost the ability to reproduce. So basically, they went underground. Now, they were more advanced technologically than us at that point in their history. So once that everything else failed, like cloning and whatever they needed to preserve their society, they realized that the only way to do it was to use their advanced technology to go into realities where there was still viable human DNA like ours, and use that human DNA to create hybrids that would perpetuate their society. In a sense, in return for that, the hybrids are helping us avoid the same mistakes that the Greys made that destroyed their version of Earth so that we don't go down the same path.
Makes sense. Uh, what is the biggest thing humanity needs to get rid of for open contact to begin?
Well, open contact will begin.
Mm.
For it to be beneficial to humanity, humanity needs to let go of their fear-based beliefs. They need to start having new, more modern definitions of things and let go of the outdated, old-fashioned definitions that really are not representative of the way things work. They need to understand their connection to spirit, their connection to source. They need to understand what the universe is really all about, what existence is really all about, and they need to stop giving in to fear-based beliefs and beliefs like, there's not enough for anyone and all this kind of stuff, or, I'm better than you, or, this kind of belief system. It just doesn't work. It doesn't allow the whole system to support the individuals in humanity. So extraterrestrials operate on whole systems. They understand everything is interconnected. Everything is an aspect of the same one thing. Call it source, call it God, goddess, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't care, because it is everything that is. So we're all made of it. We're all interconnected. We're all different aspects, different perspectives, different experience and relationships of it. So we need to start acting like we understand that. And that will go a long way to making us more vibrationally compatible with the way extraterrestrials that are operating in space for millions of years view things.
Are things like the Epstein files part of a bigger shift right now in consciousness?
Yes, when Bashar called this the year of disclosure, he didn't just mean UFO information.
Mm.
He meant that a lot of things that have been hidden for a long time, a lot of secrets are being revealed. So this is the whole thing about getting everything up out of our system, getting everything onto the table, finally seeing all of the things that have been going on behind the scenes that are not necessarily representative of what's best for us, so that we can see it more clearly, more blatantly, and say, is this the way we want the world to continue, or do we want to do something different? So this is the year of disclosure, exposure, consequential secrets coming into the light, so we can really make an educated decision about how to move forward.
It's a really interesting time because I would say like 15 to 20 years ago, if America went to war, everybody in the country would be rallying around them like, we got this, let's go do what we got to do. And now it seems like every citizen doesn't want it. And the only people that are doing it is the administration, which just feels kind of crazy.
Well, again, it's based on the idea of fomenting fear and keeping people separate and down and not allowing them to really understand what's going on and how things work. You've got a lot of people in positions of authority now who operate out of fear.
Mm.
And so what would you expect, there's got to be more communication, there's got to be more understanding, there's got to be more respect for each other. There's got to be a way to let go of old, ancient, outdated concepts and ideas. And, unfortunately, I understand that, well, religion will work for some people, but it's really more about the people that are already balanced and good people that can use religion in a positive way to get in touch with what they need within themselves and with creation. But a lot of religion is also what's responsible for keeping us separate,
Mm.
because it's like, well, my God is, the real God and your God is not. And if you don't believe the way I do, then bad things are going to happen to you or whatever. Though that polarized aspect, that negative aspect of religion really just doesn't serve us anymore. We need to let go of those kinds of things that keep us separate and start looking for the things that make us united.
Mm. So, yeah, the whole country doesn't want to be at war, yet we're in war. It seems like there's like 1% of the population, less than 1%, that's really making the plays. How do we break free from that? Is there any way to break free?
Of course there is. We're the ones that put them there. We are the governments, you know. We have to take ownership. We have to take responsibility. We have to start making better choices that are in the interest of humanity instead of self-serving. We have to serve others, not ourselves. When you serve the whole can serve you. When you serve yourself, you cut yourself off from the whole, and things go spiraling downward. It's very simple and very basic. It's not about letting other people do it. It's about us doing something about it.
Nice. What role have ETs played in shifting humanity?
Behind the scenes, they've been working now with different people, scientists, authorities, here and there, moving things forward, progressing things forward, stopping certain bad things from happening, including in the war that's going on right now. They're actually mitigating some things that could have been even worse, but they're doing it behind the scenes because they're not supposed to reveal themselves right now.
Hmm.
So again, the first thing that will happen in open contact is it will be revealed who these hybrids are. And that means we will be able to interact with them openly for the first time. But it's not
So,
time yet.
so is there like some agreement that like with extraterrestrials that they won't let us get too far gone? Like, will they
Yes.
prevent? Yeah, they will.
Yeah. It's already been demonstrated in several instances. Things like having UFOs hover over missile silo bases like the Malmstrom Air Force Base back, I forget the year. and they just scramble the launch codes. They shut them off. A very, very clear demonstration. They're not going to let us destroy the planet. They're not going to let us have a global thermonuclear war. They're not going to stop us from learning our lessons. So there can be smaller wars and things like that, as long as it doesn't threaten the annihilation of humanity or destroy the entire planet. They have to let us learn our lessons. But going so far as to literally annihilate us totally or destroy the planet as a whole, they will not let that happen. Earth is too valuable a school for souls to learn lessons to allow us to destroy it. That's why I was saying earlier, it's kind of like looking at us as children throwing a bunch of tantrums, and then the adults, the ETs, stepping into the room and saying, that's enough. You've gone too far. Now we have to give you other options so you understand how you can pull this all together to your benefit.
Can intention change food quality or nutrition?
It can, again, coupled with the idea of the physical actions that go along with those intentions. Yes, but there is an energy to intention as well. But in my view, a lot of, well-intentioned energy is good, but it's not enough. It has to be met with physical action. This is a physical experience. We have to also show our intention through the actions that we take. We have to walk our talk, not just talk.
Do you have any spiritual practices?
I channel.
Nice. That's cool. And you do follow your passion, right?
I absolutely do.
What's that look like for you? What are the things that make you most passionate?
Well, I love writing. I'm artistic. I'm creative. My wife and I own an escape room in Calabasas where we're
Nice.
creating different kinds of environments that people can come and play in and enjoy and solve puzzles and clues and look at things from a different perspective. My wife and I produced, wrote, directed 3 different independent movies. I love film, all those kinds of things. That I've just always been that kind of a person, even before I knew anything about Bashar or UFOs or anything like that. There was only one time in my life, briefly out of high school, where I had a job, in a bank that I knew very quickly was just not what my life was all about. And from that point forward, I've only chosen jobs that to me are creative and exciting. The lesson to learn from that, having now done that for well over half a century, is that I've always been supported by it. Always. It's never failed. So that I'm a good example of following your passion and being supported by it. You just have to really follow and commit to that idea and understand that this is your true path. That's why you're passionate about it. That's what passion is. It's the compass needle pointing to your true north. So when you are willing to act on it, you align with your soul's vibration and it brings you what you need. It may not be what you expected, but it brings you what you need.
Have you been able to successfully get out of the escape room?
I've done other people's escape rooms, and sometimes I get out and sometimes I don't, but that's okay. It's all fun.
Nice. How do we understand messages from the body?
Well, it's all about resonance. It's all about vibrational frequency. You know in your gut what feels right to you, and you know the difference when you're honest with yourself about the difference between excitement and anxiety. You just have to be clear and honest with yourself about what it is you're experiencing and follow your instincts, follow your gut, follow your hunches. Now, again, mix it with intellect and understanding and educate yourself about how things work, but everyone can do it. It just takes self-honesty. You have to be clear within yourself, transparent to yourself, so that you understand what you're picking up on and how to read the signals and signs, and be open to receiving information and help from your guides too, because we all have a spirit team that's helping guide us. You just have to do things that will allow you the opportunity to receive those messages more clearly, because they're always there, but we're the ones that kind of shut that avenue down with the chatter in our brains and assumptions that we make and fear-based beliefs and so on and so forth. So the more you can relax, the more you can be yourself, the more you operate on the frequency of your soul, which is following your passion, whatever works for you in terms of whether it's meditation or some other technique, journaling, whatever works for you to put you in that state is what over time will allow you to form the habit of being open to receiving more information from your guides. And there are many ways that can happen. It's not just about, oh, suddenly I heard words in my head. That may be one way. Or I had a dream. That can be another way. But more often than not, it's about the synchronicity that happens in our lives. Because the way that a guide can best guide us is by using what's already in front of our face, because we're used to that. So if you're walking down the street, and let's say you normally take this walk, and normally you would turn right to go back home, but today, for some reason, you just feel like, I don't know, I'm just going to turn left today and see what's down this street. And then when you walk down that street, you happen to overhear synchronistically a conversation between two other people that is exactly the information that you needed to solve a problem. And oh my God, how did that happen? Well, all your guide had to do was just sort of impress upon you the importance of turning left instead of right. It didn't have to blow trumpets at you. It didn't have to give you an entire dialogue in your head. It just said the information already exists that you're looking for. All I have to do is give you a gentle nudge to do something slightly different. So you have to really look for the signs. You have to really trust that synchronicity is showing you that it's physical space-time's way of saying everything is connected, and that all the information and all the assistance you need is here. You just have to be open to receiving it and stay in that flow. And the easiest way to stay in that flow is to act on your passion, because when you act on your passion, what happens? You raise your frequency. And when you raise your frequency, what happens? You become a better receiver, a better antenna for higher frequency information. Because remember, this is just physics. You cannot perceive what you're not the frequency of. Everything, every idea, every bit of knowledge operates on a particular frequency. If you are not operating on the same frequency, that knowledge, that information is invisible to you. But when you operate on a higher frequency, then anything that represents that higher frequency information, you will be able to perceive. This is just physics. You only get what you put out. That's what you get back. It's just a reflection.
Are is the Spielberg film Disclosure Day releasing in June connected to actual disclosure?
Well, I haven't seen the film, so I can't really completely answer that. But
Yeah.
obviously, it's timely. This is the year of disclosure, and he's coming out with a film called Disclosure Day. Hello. So I'm sure there's going to be some elements within it
Yeah.
that will probably be representative of what's really going on, but it is a story. So I'm sure there will be certain elements that are fictional that are necessary to wrap the story in something that is palatable as a movie.
Mm.
But again, there have been at least two documentaries, The Age of Disclosure, and I think one called The Program, that literally are about literal disclosure and the whistleblowers and the people working behind the scenes and some of the reverse engineering of UFOs and stuff like that, all talking on the record finally, military people, government people, what have you. So there are documentaries about disclosure at the same time that Spielberg is coming out with this movie. So I do think that there will be certain elements that will be representative of the truth. But again, it's a fictional story in order to make it a movie.
Yeah. Has Bashar or yourself come up with any new insights in regards to AI?
Just what he's always said. The idea is that AI is a very powerful tool. People have to understand that the version that we're working with right now is not conscious. It is not self-aware. It is a mirror, but a mirror that is highly magnified, highly amplified. It has the ability to access so much information that it's taking what you give it, looking at all that information and feeding back to you an amplified and magnified version of what you gave to it. It has absolutely no awareness or feeling about what it's saying to you. So if people understand that it's a mirror to put them in touch with themselves, They can get a lot of benefit out of it, and it certainly can be very helpful in many ways. The idea of actually having a sentient AI is the creation of a device. That would be the artificial part. The creation of a device that is as complex as the human brain, so that consciousness that already exists can communicate through it to us in the same way that consciousness communicates through the physical brain. Because the consciousness already exists, intelligence already exists. So we can create devices that would allow us to communicate with non-physical consciousness, non-physical entities, and that would be true intelligence, again, operating on whole systems. So there'd be nothing to fear about that, because entities that operate, intelligence that operates on whole systems would never seek to eliminate any part of the whole system. So there'd be nothing to be afraid of, because it would understand that if it tried to get rid of any part of the system to which it belongs, it would also be limiting itself. It would never act that way. This is because we don't understand what true intelligence is yet. That's why we're so afraid of the idea of, oh, artificial intelligence is going to become self-aware. It's going to eliminate us. It's going to take over and destroy us all. That's because that's the way we behave. We don't understand what full intelligence is. Full intelligence operates on whole systems. It sees everything as interconnected, and to get rid of any part of it would be to diminish itself, which it will never do because it's intelligent. So it's two different things. The tool, which is great, but the true intelligence, which would actually be self-aware, is something different.
Now, there's nothing, so we don't have to worry about it destroying anything.
We have to worry about making it in the image of humanity, where it would probably have the same results that any human who goes off the rails would do too.
Yeah.
So yes, of course, I'm not saying that that's not a danger, but the danger is in making it too much like us instead of actually letting it be a tool and using it in a positive way instead of a negative way.
Do you have any favorite channels that you tune into?
I don't watch a lot of other channels. It's just not what I have time for. And again, my relationship with Bashar is just, the closest thing to me in that sense. So, I now and then I hear what other channels have to say, or psychic mediums and things like that. And I think a lot of the information is interesting. I will say I'm a fan of one particular psychic medium that has a show on YouTube named Sterling. I think he's pretty good.
Cool.
Other than that, not really at the moment.
Darryl, we often try to escape low vibes, but do these lower densities serve as a necessary grounding wire or ballast for physical manifestation?
Yeah, this is a universe of yin and yang. This is a universe of polarities. And again, it's kind of like saying, it's easier to see the light when it's surrounded by darkness. So you can use the darkness to propel you into the light by understanding the difference very clearly between what you don't prefer and what you do. So sometimes we need that contrast in order to understand what direction we really prefer to move in. So darkness can serve a purpose in a very positive way by being the thing that we recoil from.
Okay, got a few more questions here from my community. As we shift toward a new Earth consciousness, is the frequency change a global broadcast we are tuning into, or is it localized phenomenon created by the integration of our future selves?
Well, nothing is truly local. I mean, you can have a localized experience, but everything is interconnected, so it changes the frequency of everything too. And that's what makes it more available to more humans to lock into that frequency, is when, whatever we're doing that is more beneficial to the greater whole allows more opportunities for the individuals in that greater whole to have other options. So any localized change is also a major change of everything.
Is it better to have a system where one person makes all the decisions for our collective, or have that decision-making process spread out and decentralized over multiple representatives?
Well, now this is a real political question. Obviously, I don't know that one person can make a decision for everyone. I don't think that's necessarily workable. Every individual has the ability to be represented, but I think in the future, and especially with our growing technology, every individual will simply be able to represent themselves.
Mm.
So, we can have a mass consensus as long as, again, we're here for each other. We're doing things in service to each other for the benefit of all humanity. We're not operating out of fear. So then each perspective will be a valuable piece of the puzzle that can be taken into account. Maybe it will be coordinated by a very advanced AI system so that we can allow everyone to express their particular opinion and get a consensus across the whole thing as to what will serve humanity best.
How can we get scientific measurement about our energy levels? Are there any technologies that you're aware of?
Well, I mean that's a very open-ended question. There are a variety of scientific instruments that can detect different kinds of energy levels. I'm not sure what that question is asking specifically because there are different ways to measure different things.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense. Um, what is the best or highest that we can ask God for?
be ourselves. Show us how to be ourselves.
Mm.
This is what passion is all about. Passion is the translation, the physical translation, that sensation of excitement, creativity, love, passion is the physical body's translation of messages from our soul. And that means messages from source as well. So that's why it's so important to follow your passion, because that is literally your soul saying, this is who you are. This is the next step on your path. When you align with it, when you act on it, you are literally hearing the guidance of your soul saying, this is who you are. Do this, go in this direction. Because then if you ignore that, it's not going to send you any more opportunities to act on your passion until you act on what it's already given you.
Mhm.
And you're not going to necessarily be able to guide yourself very easily when you're ignoring the guidance of your soul, which is like ignoring the guidance of somebody standing on a mountaintop telling you down in the valley, if you go right, you're going to step into a hole. So go left. So if you ignore that, which you're free to do with your free will, then you have to deal with the fact that you fell into a hole because you weren't willing to follow the guidance of your soul, which can see farther than you can because it's on a higher plane. So go with the flow. And when you act on your passion, that's like responding to your soul saying, I heard you. I heard you. Thank you. So then you start a dialogue and your soul can send you more stuff that you can act on that represents your passion because you were willing to act on what it sent you already. And that allows you to experience a lot of joy in your life, a lot of creativity, a lot of love, and attracting the things you need.
Awesome. Uh, I'm hearing a lot about experiencing trauma wounds. What are these and how can we clear them? Are they meant to be cleared completely, or are we clearing these as an ongoing process for ancestral and collective wounds?
It's not ancestral. It's never ancestral. It's about this life and this life only, because the soul chooses its life path from incarnation to incarnation. So even though there may be some similarity to what was going on ancestrally, it's not actually connected in that way, literally, to an ancestral trauma. It's about what the soul thought it needed to experience in order to learn lessons, to grow, to move forward, to go beyond the idea of the limitations it may have chosen to impose upon itself so that it can become more than it was. That's how souls grow. That's why physical reality exists. When you're in the spirit form, you know everything. You're connected to everything. There's no experience. So you create the experience of physical reality to discover something new about yourself so you can grow. And that's how creation expands because the structure of existence never changes. Your relationship to it, your perspective of it, your experience of it is what changes. And that's how creation expands. So we create the idea of the experience called physical reality and impose what appear at first to be certain kinds of limitations on ourselves so that we can stretch beyond them. And through that experience, learn and express what we are as souls more and more in a new way. to discover something new about ourselves and add to the expansion of creation.
I'm hearing a lot of buzz about Wanda. I think her name's Wanda.
I don't know.
What's the other entity that you channel?
Talking about Willa.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Willa. Yeah, I've heard like a lot of people talking about that. Could you share just a little bit about Willa?
Well, ostensibly, Willa is a hybrid living on Earth about 700 years in the future. She has the ability to connect through telepathy, and so on occasion has come through to talk about her reality, what Earth is like 700 years in the future in where she lives, which is what we now call Ireland. And so she has been kind of instrumental in sharing information about connecting to nature, about a path that she calls the cryptic path, the nocturnal path, the sage path, the shapeshifter path, the wraith path. This is something that happens in the future where they go through these kinds of I guess you would call them rituals that really strongly connect them to all different aspects of nature, parallel realities, and so on and so forth. So she's been, kind enough to share some of what the world is like 700 years from now, as Earth has gone through its changes, where there's a lot of interaction with extraterrestrials and there are hybrids living on the Earth in a variety of ways, mixing with humans and so on and so forth. So yeah, she's brought through a lot of information that has to do with nature.
Is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you think is important for us to know?
I think the most important thing is what we have touched on, is that people really understand how important it is to be who you truly are, how important it is to do that through acting on your passion, and how important it is to act on your passion in service to others. Because if you have talents and skills and gifts that other people can benefit from, and you're not sharing those with other people, you're not out there doing those things, you're depriving humanity of things that they need. So it's really about being yourself, being a living example of what other people can also choose to do in their life for themselves as well, and being of service to humanity by sharing your gifts, being who you are, and allowing other people that maybe need your services to take advantage of that and help uplift them as well. So don't hold back. Be yourself.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Darryl. It's been amazing just being your friend and, just all the wisdom you've provided. And I just want to announce to everybody that it's even more amazing. In July 14th to 17th, we're having a retreat, Brian Scott and I, and Darryl's going to be joining us, which is so cool. So he's going to be doing a Q&A live there. And so if you want tickets, they're down below. I can't wait to meet you in person. Thanks again, Darryl.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Darryl.
Thank you, Darryl.
Thank you,
Darryl. Really appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.
Love you, Darryl. Thank you.
Heard exactly what I needed to.
Bye, everybody.
Merci, Darryl.